Alright y'all, welcome back to the channel here and to another pattern test. And we've got another different small game type of shell to test out today. That shell being some of these, the Herter's target loads here. They are a 12 gauge, 2 3/4, 7.5 shot. It's a 1 ounce payload going 1180, so they say, but we're going to test that. Now the Herter shells, at least the turkey shells, have shown really good results so far on the channel for being a much more budget load than a lot of others. So I'm really looking forward to see what their more target or small game oriented shells are able to do. From what we've seen so far out of the other Herter's turkey shells, they definitely seem to be a lot better than a lot of other stuff that's right on the same shelf. So I'm really looking forward to see what these shells can do down there, if they're noticeably better or about the same as any other shell that you could pick up right off the same shelf. I think it would be really interesting if we got some really impressive results out of these shells as well, and that would just go to show that most likely across the whole range of Herter shells, they seem to be pretty decent. But I don't know, we're just going to have to test them today and see what we can get out of them. But as for what setup we're going to be running them out of today, it's the same as usual, the Remington 1187 Premier with the stock modified choke in the gun to get all of our baselines. That's a 707 constriction I measured it out to. So as per usual with these tests, we're going to go over to my chronograph. We're going to run 3 rounds across the chronograph, get our average velocity, and then I'm going to take them over and shoot a pattern at 20 yards, 30 yards, and 40 yards. I'll go down and mark all of our hits, draw our circles, and then bring you guys in. That way we can go over all the information that we got and see how these shells really performed. So with that being said, let's scoot over to the chronograph and get our average velocity. All right, we're all set up over at the chronograph, so let's run our 3 rounds and get our average speed here. So those shells gave us an average of 1,226 feet per second. The box claimed 1180, so we're definitely a little bit above what the box showed, which is definitely a good sign. Alright, now I'm going to shift over here, shoot our 20, 30, and 40 yard patterns, go down and mark all of our hits, draw our circles, and then I'll bring you guys back in. I would like to show you the footage, but there's really nothing for you to see since you won't be able to actually see the hits on the paper. So I'm going to shoot them, bring you guys in, and we'll see what they did. Alright, so after shooting all of our shots here, now we're looking at our 20 yard target. And as you can see, we have a pretty dense pattern right there. We do have a couple of these flyers around the edge here for whatever reason. But overall, that's definitely pretty tight for a 20 yard pattern there. In our 10-inch circle core area here, there's 214 pellets in that core. And as we back out, we have a 20-inch circle, because if I drew a 30, everything would be inside of it. But in that 20-inch circle, there's 135 pellets in there. We did have where the wad hit right there, but overall, that's definitely a pretty hot pattern, even for 20 yards from what we've seen so far. So I think we're off to a good start with these Herter shells. Once again, maybe they might live up to the turkey loads, even in their target shells. Alright, now we're looking at our 30 yard board here. And this pattern is kind of interesting. Maybe I could have scooted that circle down and to the right just a little bit. But if you look at the overall pattern, there's really not a whole lot of anything down here in the bottom right, or up here in the top left either. So I don't really know. It's definitely not a bad pattern by any means. It's definitely still really pretty even as far as where your shot went. And there's no real voids in it except for these kind of goofy top left and bottom right areas down here. But overall, in our 10-inch circle, there's still 91 pellets. And now in our 30-inch circle, there's 261 pellets within that 30-inch circle. And at 30 yards, I think this is the best numbers that we've seen out of any other shell so far. That's similar to this anyway. I mean, we still only have a couple of these pellets outside the circle here. Now, yeah, we may have had a couple of them fly around the edges of the target, but still, I think 95+%, if not more than that. I mean, all of your shots are right there on the paper, so we can definitely see what we want to see out of this. And I definitely think that's one of the best 30-yard patterns we've gotten so far out of these small game, target, upland style shells, for sure. All right, now we're looking at our 40-yard paper here. And as you can see, we definitely started to open up. There's no question there. But it opened up pretty evenly, I gotta say. You have a couple of voids right out here around the edge, maybe. And there's one odd one kind of right here in our core area. It's about the size of your fist. So overall though, I really think that's one of the better patterns we've seen so far out of a shell in this style, for sure. In our 10-inch circle here, there's 38 pellets with that one kind of interesting void. I don't really know why that happened, but is what it is. And in our 30-inch circle, there's 194 pellets in that. So we're definitely retaining pretty good pellet count, and it's definitely a really pretty even pattern overall, especially for a kind of cheaper budget, off the shelf, big box store, just nothing special about it at all, 7.5 shot shell. I definitely like what I'm seeing so far out of these Herter shells. And this is what wad they're using. Definitely a really long, like gas piston cushion area on the bottom here, a lot longer than most of the other shells we've tested, with that short, stubby wad part up at the top here. So it's definitely a little bit more of a goofy wad than what we've seen before. There's no tears or buffer material or pellets or anything like that jammed down in here. It's not all shredded up. It looks really, really good for what it is. All right, well, y'all, what did you think about these Herter 7.5 shot shells? I definitely like the performance that I've seen so far out of them. I definitely think these have the best pellet count numbers and the most even patterns so far from what we've tested. And I think they're probably the cheapest shells so far from everything that we've tested and all that I've got. So I definitely think the Herters guys have it figured out, and I think they are actually loaded by Winchester. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it's a division of Winchester that's doing it. So somebody over there definitely has their shells figured out, it would seem, from their turkey loads all the way to the target loads as well. But what do y'all think about it? Is that a small game shell or a target shell or a skeet shell or anything like that that you would use? So thank y'all for liking and subscribing to the channel and commenting as usual. I love reading through them and seeing what you guys think about them. But on that note, it is getting hot out here already. I'm already sweating. And I've still got a couple more tests that I want to run out here today. So stay tuned for those, because they'll be coming out over the next few days. We got some more shotgun tests, and we got a 22 test coming out as well. A little accuracy test for that I think is really going to be pretty interesting. So stick around for those, because they'll be coming out. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you think about it. And on that note, I'll see y'all in the next one.